Well, thank you everybody for coming. We're going to start off with, hey, Christy, trying to see, sign in. There's name tags over there, a sheet to grab, a roster to grab, and then wherever you would like to have a seat that has some sort of kitchen gadget.
Oh boy. Choose wisely.
So this is what we're going to do. We have kitchen gadgets here, and one, two, three, four. Okay, I have some here that I'm going to assign you, and I'll show you what it is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go around and we'll introduce ourselves, first name and last name, and what you think your kitchen gadget is or does. You may not know because I don't know some of them. Okay, so Caitlin, let's see, this one.
My name is Caitlin Young, and that's a watermelon slicer.
Really?
Yes.
There we go. Good job. Okay, Susan. We lost somebody. Okay, Susan. Oh my. Can you see that? It has like serrated edges here in this circle. Can you?
Yeah, I think it's a corn husker, to take the corn off a cob.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, wow. Okay, good job. All right.
Susan Caldwell, by the way.
Oh, yes, that's so you're Susan Caldwell. Okay, Jeannie, this is yours. All right. And then it goes down like that. And there's holes in there. Can you see that there's holes?
Now, let me see again.
Okay, so that's the bottom. There's holes in the bottom.
Oh, is it like a ricer? Like you put the potato in, you squeeze it, and it's like I think it's called a ricer.
That's ricer. Is that what it is? Okay.
I'm really impressed.
Me too. I have a clue. All right, Carol.
Carol, pressure's on.
All right, so that was Jeannie Michaels, and this is Carol Edwards.
I cannot see that. I'm trying hard.
There, that's better.
Looks
like a little bird.
It does look like a bird.
A stopper.
And these are like bristles.
Oh, like a scrubber, a little scrubber.
Some sort of scrubber.
Like a vegetable scrubber.
A vegetable scrubber. Oh.
A particular kind of vegetable.
And say, what does this do?
It takes the eyes out of potato.
Potato scrubber. Got it.
Potato scrubber.
Good one. I wanted the ricer, but yeah.
You wanted that? Sorry. You got the potato duck. Okay. All right, so that was Carol. Sasha, let's go with you and we'll go around.
I'm Sasha Ryman's Feast. Not that you can see me because we're really, really small.
I know.
That's true.
A white thing with a magnetic ball, and it is a recipe card holder.
Oh, now I can see you.
Oh.
Okay, I'm Kathy Smedley, and I have this thing with 5 wires, and it's a pie plate, pie knife. You smash the dough with the butter and the water. And
so it mixes up your pie dough?
Yep. So yeah, that's what it does.
I thought it would have been like mashed potatoes or something.
You could do that.
Okay.
So I'm Diane Tessino Lane, and I have this thing. It's got like rollers on either end, one larger, one smaller, and then a little like forky thing in the middle. And what it's for is for pie dough, or for pastry dough to roll out. Yeah.
Oh.
And and then roll it like in the pie pan, smooth it out in the pie pan, and then this to pierce the pie.
Oh.
Or wow. The edges.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, instead of a fork.
Hi, my name is. Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Caitlin Orkin. I have a little thingy that kind of looks like a robot, honestly. But it is a garlic slicer, so you roll it across the table with a garlic clove in there, and it does this little choppy thingy with the tiny.
Now she looked it up.
I saw
She
the.
Googled it.
I saw the company on the side of it, and I was really intrigued.
She used her resources though, right?
That's reasonable. Hi, I'm Ronnie Crone, and what I have here, I understand is an avocado slicer over smasher.
Smasher.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a tool for everything.
Hi, I'm Jane Wendell, and I have no idea what I have. It looks, everybody thought maybe it was a garlic press, because it sort of looks like one,
Oh, that's what I would.
but this is totally flat. There's no grid or anything in here, it's just a hollow, maybe something's missing.
Maybe a piece is missing.
Maybe a piece is missing.
Yeah.
Because if it was a garlic press, which it could be if there was like a screen.
Yeah.
So maybe a piece is missing, I don't know.
Okay, so that one's a mystery.
Mystery.
That maybe we'll have to try it out on different functions
I'm
and
looking at
see
the
what
brand
works.
on it, but I don't see anything.
All right, my next.
Go ahead.
I'm Christy Fitzgerald, and I have a cute little bear. And I think I have one of these with this shape, but I think you put this in a brown sugar bag and it keeps it like from clumping.
Oh.
I just drew.
Yes. I
Wow.
actually smell it. Doesn't smell like that.
Oh, is that what it is?
It hadn't been in brown, I mean, not right before I brought it here, but it was, I have used it before.
Okay, so that is what it does.
Yes.
Okay.
I got one for my wedding, if it says anything,
Okay.
from my husband.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, clearly you needed a brown
I
sugar.
know, nothing says better than
Non-clumper.
brown sugar clumper. Declumper. Hi, I'm Emily Shetty, and I have an apple and core slicer.
Oh, is that what that is? Yeah.
That
one is too.
I'll pick one, okay. I don't have any idea. Okay, so I'm Jill Riker. And I have no idea.
Walk up and show them.
Yeah, I'll just walk up, maybe you can help.
I don't think they saw any of ours.
There's a bowl and a lid, but the lid has, let's see, can you see that? So the lid is also has a hollow part too. That sits down like that.
That's for spreadable butter. You put butter in there when it's hard and then it's easier to move it around the pan. The part that's in your right hand is the part that like the butter sits in and then you like move that around the pan.
And you put water in the other end, right?
Yeah.
I have two.
To soften it up.
You put
I keep
Yeah.
them out.
water. I put cold water in it.
Okay.
And then you put butter inside the other part and you let it sit and then you can leave the butter out on your counter for weeks.
Yes.
I do that without that gadget.
Wow.
Yeah, I do too.
Without the gadget.
Awesome butter dish.
Awesome. So what is that all about? What is this all about? Why do we have kitchen gadgets for children's ministry? Hang on, let's see. All right, we're gonna get to that in a second. So apparently at my house, I do not have a really well-equipped kitchen because I don't have most of these things and have no idea what they are. But in order to have a well-equipped kitchen, you need tools like this. You need the gifts that every one of these brings, right? And so reflect on these things in a well-equipped kitchen as we look at, and I didn't forewarn y'all to bring your Bible, so they're gonna help read and you can listen. But so we're gonna read 1 Corinthians, and we're all gonna take a turn. 12 to 27, and I think if you would like pages if you're the same as mine, we're on
The children's Bible, since this is what
Chapter
you're
12?
using.
chapter 12, verses
Oh,
12 to
12.
27. Mine's on 1220 or 1275.
1275, yeah.
So just a little preface to this, Paul's letter to the church in Corinth, right? And this is written in response to a letter that Paul's congregation that he started in Corinth had sent him trying to settle some disputes, right? So this congregation, primarily Gentile, there were issues with different groups trying to be in control, right? And so control issues led to all kinds of disagreements and marginalizing disadvantaged groups, right? So Paul writes about the importance of everyone's gifts and how that they should be working together, right? So can we go around and starting with verse 12, so Sasha, if you would read however many verses you feel like, and then when you pause, Kathy will take over and however many verses she feels like until we get to 27.
Christ is just like the human body. A body is a unit and has many parts, and all the parts of the body are one body, even though there are many. We are all baptized by one Spirit into one body, whether it's Jew or Greek, or slave or free, and we all were given one Spirit to drink.
Certainly, the body isn't one part, but many. If the foot says, I'm not part of the body because I'm not a hand, does that mean it's not part of the body? If the ear says, I'm not part of the body because I'm not an eye, does that mean it's not part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, what would happen to the hearing? And if the whole body were an ear, what would happen to the sense of smell?
But as it is, God has placed each one of the parts in the body just like he wanted. If all were one and the same body part, what would happen to the body?
But as it is, there are many parts, but one body. So the eye can't say to the hand, I don't need you. Or in turn, the head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. Instead, parts of the body that people think are the weakest are the most necessary.
The parts of the body that we think are less honorable are the ones we honor the most. The private parts of our body that aren't presentable are the ones that are given the most dignity. The parts of our body that are presentable don't need this. But God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the part with less honor, so that there won't be division in the body, and so the parts might have mutual concern for each other.
If one part suffers, all the parts suffer with it. If one part gets glory, all the parts celebrate with it.
You are the body of Christ and parts of each other.
You got off the hook. Me too.
Get you.
Are you all able to hear okay? Up there, okay, good. I apologize if I'm muffled, if you can't hear me. I'm masked because my husband is home with COVID for the first time. So yeah, so since we live in the same house and sleep in the same place, well, not this week, we're not, but that's why. I'm trying to make sure that if I'm carrying it and I don't know it, I don't want to share it all with y'all. Well, you're probably not going to, but so what's the significance of that text and the kitchen gadgets and why we might be gathered here today? Any thoughts?
Oh, we all have different gifts. I don't know.
We do have different gifts. And sometimes, like the thing that I had, where is it? I didn't know what that gift was, right? Which is similar to part of my story. I didn't realize 24 years ago when I started in ministry that was part of my gifts. until somebody else saw it in me. And said, you know what, I think you should do this. You know, oh, what? I have a biology degree. What? Ministry, what? So sometimes we don't know the gifts that we have. And sometimes that it takes encouragement from somebody else that sees those things in you. So just one little part of what I want to encourage you to do today and beyond today is see the gifts, not just in yourself, but see them in other people and tell them about it. Encourage them to use your gifts. I see this gift in you. And just maybe that could blossom into something beautiful. Never, when I went to college, would I thought 24 years, well, after 11 years in my major, 24 years after that, I'd be in ministry. Never, until somebody saw me. So, as we are, and maybe you all could grab some paper, pens, markers, whatever you have, but as we spend our time together today and go over some of the nitty-gritty that we have to, I'd like you to take your papers. You all have some blank cardstock. Grab some whatever color markers. I got a brand new box of awesome markers back here, right? Which makes me very happy to see all of those little bins of brand new markers. That makes my heart happy. Consider these questions. What do you see as your gifts? What is your part of the body of Christ? Right? Do you know what they are? How do you see yourself using your gifts for ministry? And essentially, what is your ministry? What are the gifts that you see in others? Tell them, tell them, tell them. Right, so as we go along, doodle, draw, journal, whatever you like to do about some of these questions. So reflect on some of these questions. We'll come back and share those things a little bit later. And you can do that there too. Okay. All right, here's where you pray that technology works the way it's supposed to. All right, so this video, 3 ways you can show young people you care, right? So as part of ministry, regardless of what your gifts are, you can use those gifts to connect with our young people or any people, right? And so what are 3 ways that you can show young people you care? So whether you're the eye of the body or the hand of the body or the foot of the body or the ear of the body, how can you show young people that you care? So this video comes from a series from Springtide Research Institute.
Start with just really listening to young people. I mean, young people can really tell if you're just sitting there waiting to hop in with the piece of advice that you have, especially if you've already made your decision about whatever they're saying before they start talking. They can tell, they know that right away. So one thing we can do is set aside our own viewpoints, right? Set that off to the side and really sit down and listen. Take in what they're saying and not try to jump in before they're finished. Secondly, we can do things like just remember their birthday, right? This all goes towards naming them, right? If you remember their birthday or their milestone or their favorite movie or ask about their pets and their hobbies, those sorts of things let young people know that we are listening, we're paying attention to what they care about, and that we care in response and we're willing to enter into that dialogue with them about what's important to them. And then that third piece, I think one really impactful thing is to give young people a platform to use their own voice. And when I think about that, I think about co-creation. It's absolutely huge for young people when we can trust them with leadership and give them the resources and support they need to thrive in those positions of leadership. So not just saying, hey, you're in charge, do your own thing, but you're in charge, I trust you, and I'm gonna help you along the way. I'm gonna give you that support you need. I'll listen to you and hear your problems and support you where I can. That is one amazing way to help young people feel like they are valued in a community, makes them feel like they belong. And then you as an adult become one of those trusted adults, right? Because you're communicating and working with them and supporting them in their own leadership. So I would definitely recommend that platform for their own voice, but then don't leave them out there in the cold. Make sure you keep supporting them.
All right, I'll get to that in a second. So we're going to talk a whole lot about the particular ministries here, the logistics of the ministries here, the curriculum a little bit later of the ministries that we have here. And all of those things are important. However, if you were to look back on your own childhood, your own youth, what are you going to remember most about your connection with church? Are you going to remember what Mrs. Smith taught you? Or are you going to remember how Mrs. Smith cared for you and loved you and connected with you and wanted to know about what's going on in your life, remembered your birthday? What are the things that you remember as a child growing up? If you grew up in the church, maybe you didn't. Not a hypothetical question, actually asking, what is it that you remember, Sasha?
I got to place the sealant or glaze on baby Jesus in our church nativity. We made a little porcelain ceramic nativity of glazed baby Jesus.
So you were given the responsibility of glazing, if you will, baby Jesus. I mean, I think
donkeys. I got baby Jesus.
You got baby Jesus. So that was an important responsibility. How old were you, would you say?
5th grade, maybe.
5th grade? Okay. Okay. Anyway.
All blurred together.
So someone entrusted you with that important job. Caitlin.
I remember as somebody who like came up through all the youth programs in this church, going to like youth choir with Mr. Bob, or going to like Sunday school or youth group with Chris. Like I would always be that kid that was there and so ready and excited for those programs, and would sometimes be like excited loud and like excited like really, really rambunctious. And I remember every single one of those people taking the time to be like, I am so excited that you are so excited about this program. Here's what we're gonna do, and here's how I'm gonna have like you help with this. And they always, like, no matter what, give me a seat at the table. And that's what I remember most with like Westminster programming, is like, no matter if I was like that kid that was super rambunctious because they were excited, or was quiet that night because they were just like done, I always had a seat at the table and people were always ready to listen to me. And that's what I remember most.
Okay, so they wanted to listen to you. They honored what you felt and what you thought. And they kind of leaned into that. That's awesome. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? It's okay. That's all right. That's all right. So there's kind of a cliche out there. Faith is more caught than taught, right? And so it's the relationships that are so important. There are stories we want to tell them, absolutely. We want to connect their lived experiences to God's stories, because it's all our God's, all God's stories are our stories, right? But if they don't have folks here that they trust, that they love, who they know love them, why would they want to come and even hear about the story? So I know a lot of folks get worried about teaching. Oh, I don't think I can teach. I'm not ready to teach. I don't know enough. It's not about knowing enough. It's about connecting. It's about relationships with these kids. And then we'll talk about it in a little bit. But so much of what we do here at Westminster leans into the sense of wonder, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but wondering with the kids pulls them and engages them into the story. And we wonder about them together. I wonder what it was like to be the lost sheep. I wonder what it was like to be found again. I wonder what it felt like for the shepherd to have lost the sheep. I wonder who you would be in this story. Right? And so engaging them and the stories into their lived experiences, right? And developing that relationship. So children have their spiritual nature, they have an innate connection to God, right? They have an openness to mystery. They have an amazing capacity for awe. Have you ever been with a child that's learning something new, or hearing a story for the first time, or seeing something new? The look in their eyes and their expressions, that sense of awe, oh my gosh, that alone is why I love children's ministry. I love, not that I don't love being with y'all as grown-ups, but the sense of awe that children have that we tend to lose as grown-ups, it fills my spirit. Children are receivers. They're like sponges. They soak up everything they see and hear and experience. They love what is real, especially young children, tangible things. And their creativity and imagination are beyond what I have. Right? What are some ways that you see, and I can back up, what are some ways that you see some of these spiritual characteristics of children? In some of your, whether they're in the classroom, whether they're your grandchildren, whether they're your children, your neighbors, how do you see the spiritual nature of children being lived out? Take a minute to think about the kiddos in your life. What do you think? Have you ever heard any stories about, we look at the innate connection with God? And maybe they don't always verbalize their connection with God, but some of the ways that we see God's Spirit coming through. Have you ever seen it lived out in a child? There was a story, a colleague of mine actually was talking about, actually, maybe it was Sharon, when she came to do our training, that one of her congregation members, little boy, was heard by her family whispering to a brand new baby sister. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. So this little boy whispered to baby sister, what was it like? Tell me what you remember about God. Right? And so in his mind, he knew that that baby sister was closer to God because she had just been born than even he was a few years later. Wow, that's just, I mean, she said that gave me chills, right? So those are the kind of things that we can connect with our kiddos. And I think that we do a good job here at Westminster of doing that kind of thing. In all that we do here in Westminster's Children and Family Ministries, we try to lean into a sense of wonder, trusting, and this is a quote by Ivy Beckwith from Formational Children's Ministries. She's the author of that book. God's Spirit will show them where God's story interacts with their own story. right? And another thing that she says is that we will trust that God will give them exactly what they need from our time together and from the stories on that given day. Right? So God, we're going to trust that God will give them exactly what they need. All right, so some of the nitty gritty, I just wanted to give you all, you see, Emily, am I standing right in your way? I am. And folks online, I did say, and you can let me know, everything that we're doing here electronically and every document that I mentioned, I'm going to send out to everyone electronically and give folks that couldn't be here or online access to this recording. But if you want anything hard copy, paper copies, let me know. I'm trying to steer away. Last year, I put together folders. I can't even tell you how many folders for everyone. And then so much paper ended up being wasted. So as a creation care congregation, I didn't feel good, or even if we weren't, I wouldn't feel good about wasting so much paper. So I am glad for anybody who's not the digital kind of person to make copies for those that do want those, but I just didn't want to do it in mass. So, but if you let me know if you want a hard copy, I'm glad to get you hard copies. So an overview of what we do at Children and Family Ministries. 9:30 on Sunday morning, we have Kids Connect and We Connect. So Kids Connect is Sunday school, essentially, for K through 5th grade. Now, last year when I came, at that time, we didn't have anything for younger than kindergarten. So I had a really hard time conceptually with that. So we started, Carol helps me, Lauren Healthgott also helps me, started We Connect, intentionally WEE for our little guys, which is essentially Young Children in Worship, a tweaked version of what we're launching in the fall for the 11 o'clock service. So we do that for the 3 to 5-year-olds. Young Children in Worship, if you've heard of Godly Play, sometimes it's all generically called Godly Play. I'm guilty of that too, although there are some nuanced differences. But Young Children in Worship is what we're launching in a few weeks. I'm not anxious. This is a lot to do. That's okay. It'll be good. For the 11 o'clock service. And just briefly, I won't go into a lot of it, but it's a time where the kiddos are worshiping as well as doing a form of storytelling that uses figures and pieces and sometimes a sandbox as a part of the desert. And so the kiddos kind of learn about worship separate from the worshiping congregation so that they can learn and be comfortable to appropriately worship with the congregation. And that will be for ages 3 to whatever, all ages. And some of you are going to be part of that. VBS/summer programs we have every year. This year we did some Wednesday mornings, Wonder, Imagination, and Play. Wednesday mornings for a couple of hours. And Sunday evenings, Campfire and Community. So they were some trials that we did this year. Pretty well received. And we'll see what happens next summer. Intergenerational events, Family Advent Night. Last year we did a Las Posadas night, which I've been told was really fun, but I had COVID, so I planned it all and I missed it. But it was a really cool night. Fall Fest, which I think we had in the past. COVID did its thing, didn't do it, but I think we're going to try to bring it back this year. And I think it's scheduled for a Friday night in October. Is it October? Or the very beginning of November? I don't know. I'll have to look. We'll let you know. Vespers is a once a month about Sunday evening worship, intergenerational worship, very kid friendly, super kid friendly. The family Christmas Eve service is actually in the morning. And this year, to be clear, because this year's fun, the last day of Advent, the last Sunday of Advent is on Christmas Eve. So we had a staff discussion about, so what does that look like? Some churches do the morning as Advent and the evening as Christmas Eve. Our family service in Christmas Eve is in the morning regardless. So we decided that probably the very few people, staff, and very few people would even notice much that if we just did Christmas Eve and kind of forego the last Sunday of Advent. But I'm sure it'll be, I know, I'm sure it'll be intertwined somewhat. So it may just be staff that has seizures about it, but that's what it's going to look like. And then the MLK Day of Service. So on the day that everybody has off from school and so forth, we do a day of service here, and that's intergenerational. Milestone Ministries, we have baptism class for families who want their kiddos to be baptized, or adults. We've had, pretty recently, we've had a mom and a baby together. That was neat. Communion workshop for grades 2 to 5 and families. And that's a picture that you see there in the kitchen. They're making their own communion wafers. And a 3rd grade Bible workshop. And then they're presented in worship the Sunday after that. All right, so that's the overview of most of the things that we do. Now here's the blah, the important stuff, but the blah, blah, blah stuff. I'm only going to give you a quick overview of the important things, and then you'll need to kind of review some of the documents a little bit more carefully. But one of the things that I put this in the email, if you don't have your clearances, or if they're out of date, and just a caveat, we're now at a cycle where a lot of folks that had them are now expired, right? So this all started in about 2015. The laws took effect in 2015. Most of the things were 3-year expirations at that time. Then they changed them to 5 years. But so those 3 years ended in 2018. Now we are 5 years later. So we're having a cycle of a lot of people expired. So if I am going to give the roster that I'll send you and that you have, everybody that's helping, I'm going to give that to Jenny Moffett. Emily, she works in our office. She's like the gatekeeper of all clearances and keeps all that on file so that she can review her information to see who's expired, who needs to be updated. So Jenny should be contacting you if you need to redo that. If you're really not sure and you don't hear from Jenny in short order, just give her a call or shoot her an email. She'll check and can let you know. And I did send the documents in that email that kind of guides you through that process. If you go through that process and you need help, please let Jenny or myself know. We can actually walk through the process with you if you need to. It's more user-friendly than it was at the beginning. It's not completely intuitive either. So we're glad to help you if you need help. But there are 3 pieces that you need. This Pennsylvania State Criminal History, Pennsylvania Child Abuse, and then one of either FBI fingerprinting, unless you've been a resident of the state of Pennsylvania for at least 10 consecutive years. And if that's the case, you don't need the FBI, but there's a waiver that you have to sign. And essentially it says, here are these awful things that I have not done. And you sign for that. And they're good for 5 years. Any questions on the clearances so far? I know some of you already have them. Most of you probably already have them. All right. There's lots of stuff in our safe church policy. These are the really important things for us to remember. We need to have 2 cleared adults with our kiddos at all times. Youth helpers are legally minors and not considered cleared adults. So we love having our youth helpers. I encourage us to have lots of youth helpers to build them up, give them leadership, but they don't count as an adult. They're also a minor. So I'll get back to what that can look like as well. Married couples, here's something that surprises folks, cannot count as 2 people in a room. They can only count as 1. Do you know why?
They can't testify.
Can't testify against one another. So when we have, God bless Amanda and Joey Lawn, they're amazing, but they can't be, they're only 1 adult when they help in the classroom together. So what does that look like? It can also look like, because I know and live what it's like to staff everything that we need to, right? Even a bigger church like this that we are, it's tough to get everybody that we need. So if we cannot have 2 permanent people in the classroom, any classroom, then we can have a roaming adult, right? So if Joey and Amanda are next door to Carol and I, and we have somebody else that can kind of pop in, or Carol, if I leave my door open, Carol can pop over every few minutes and check on Joey and Amanda. So it can work. It's not the preferred way to do it, but if we have to do it that way, we can do it that way. Same thing when we do young children in worship up here. Maybe we can have an usher, a different usher come in and pop in. We're a little bit more public up in this space, but still, we need to have that check. Well, what if they have to go to the bathroom? And I have some of us will have bathrooms in our classrooms. Never go in and close the door by yourself with a child in a bathroom. Just don't do it, ever.
How about the bigger bathroom in the hall? You accompany them to the bathroom, then do you just stand outside in the hall while they go in?
I would
make
say,
sure it's clear that there's nobody in there.
I would keep myself in between the door that you leave ajar. You know,
From the hall into the bathroom.
From the hall into the bathroom, yes. That's how I would do that. I had a little boy last year that had an accident, and we had a bathroom in the room. And there were other adults. It was childcare, and so there were a bunch of other adults. So, and he desperately needed help. Yes, it was a mess, and he needed help. So what I did is I left the door ajar. I asked him if I could help him because he really needed help. And he said yes. So, but what I did is I placed myself in the open door so that I was obscuring everybody else from seeing what problems he was having, but still able to reach in and help him. And everyone, the adults behind me, could see what was going on. So just kind of use common sense. That is for your protection as well as the kiddos. You don't want, yes, Ryan.
Is it okay if a child, say, I'm gonna say like a 3rd or 5th grader, if they have to leave the room to use the bathroom, is it okay to have another child accompany them?
That's a good question.
I don't think our policy says anything against doing that. But I would,
I would just say like one at a time.
Right.
And the adult go with
Go
them.
with them and stand
And
outside.
stand out in the hall,
Yard.
and then the next
Yeah.
one can go, and that one comes back. That just makes more sense, because two kids together in the bathroom, that's just bad.
Yeah, for a lot of other reasons. For a lot of other
Stopped up
reasons.
toilets and.
Yeah, something that we've done with Girl Scouts, for instance,
Okay.
they're never allowed to just go by themselves, there's a buddy system.
Yeah.
So even if the other child doesn't need to use the facilities, they walk with them, stand there with them, you know, while they're doing whatever they need to do, and then
Yeah.
accompany them back.
Yeah, and, well, no, I was gonna say your room, but you'll be upstairs now, so.
We usually have our door open, the boys' room's right across the hall.
Yeah, so that's.
So we don't even ever go, like, if one of the boys says I have to go to the bathroom, we're like, okay, go ahead, go.
Yeah, keep it open
And
and
then-
you can see
And
from
look,
your
we
room.
make one at a time, like if two of them say they have to go, we have one go, and I'm like, don't be long, cause I'll come find you.
I'm gonna come knocking.
The girls' room's around the other side, so if one of the girls has to go, you know, we probably it's usually the boys that have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not, the big guys should be able to hold it for an hour.
Yeah.
They should be able to hold it. If you have little guys, it could be a good idea for before you even start, let's just all go to the bathroom. So you have two adults in, you know, with the kids. And that way that you're going now or you're not going. But the little guys' rooms, a lot, not all of them, but a lot of them have them in the rooms. So it makes it a little bit easier. Anything else about those kind of logistics? And again, I'm going to send you all the entire church safe church policy, but these are like the really important points. Okay, emergency procedures. I'll send you these as well, but this folder is in every classroom in a pocket by the door, a wall pocket by the door. Inside it will be all of the procedures and more than each classroom needs, like signing in and out procedures, counting procedures, meaning counting heads. So always know how many kiddos are in your classroom. That gets slightly tricky when we leave the sanctuary after the children's message. So it's good to gather, and that's what we do. We gather in our groups outside of the sanctuary, count heads then. Make sure you have the same amount of heads when you get to your destination. And we all gather in the K through 5 gathers for the Bible story, right, in the large group space. So then when you move from that space to your individual classrooms for, you know, further response and discussion and things about the story, make sure you have the same number of heads there too, right? So that's in there. You'll also find things that don't pertain to the older kids, like hand washing and, diaper changing and hand washing. You guys won't need, but it's in there because some folks do. What are really important things in here? I mean, that's all really important. But there are procedures for evacuations. There's procedures for intruders, injured child, sick child. They're all in this folder. Like I said, I will send them to you, so please review them on your own time and let me know if you have any questions. The other things that are in there, I don't know how well you can see that. Let me take this off. There's incident report forms in there. That's for any kind of incident, from 2 kids ran at each other and banged their heads to a kiddo revealed potential abuse to you. It's all the same report. How do I know when to fill one out? A lot of it is common sense. If a kiddo has hurt themselves and you think there could potentially be follow-up doctor's appointments or questions from parents, just fill it out. Fill out it and give it to me. So if there's any questions, we know the church knows what happened. There's also the Pennsylvania Child Hotline number on here. Here's one thing I forgot to add to the, and I'll send it to you all, but I forgot to add. Those of us that are church employees have to have mandated reporter training. If you're a teacher, you have to have mandated reporter training. If you're a volunteer, this is what I find odd. You are a mandated reporter if you're working with children. You're not required to have it, but you're recommended to have it. I find that strange because I think if you're a mandated reporter, you ought to know what that entails. So I'm going to send you the link. I did it through Pittsburgh, pitt.edu. Here's why it's recommended and not required for volunteers. It's a 3-hour course. But you can do it in your own time and it saves as you go. It won't let you do it in sooner than 3 hours because it's timed. Everything is timed. But you can do a half an hour today and then a half an hour in a couple of days, and it'll save as you go because you'll have to do an account and it just saves everything to your account. I would recommend everybody doing it that works with children and youth so that you know, in what kind of instances do I call the child hotline? When should I be calling the police? At one point, do I tell my the leaders of my organization? So it walks you through all of that. So I really recommend that we all do it. And that's also good for 5 years, right? So that's one thing I neglected to put on here. Exits. There, in every room by the door, there's an exit plan if you need to evacuate, okay? If we need to evacuate, whether it's because of fire, intruder, whatever, we have a planned meeting place out at the outdoor chapel. Okay, why the outdoor chapel? Well, one, we can stand in the parking lot if it's a fire. If it's an intruder, there are places to hide. Frankly, there's trees, there's sheds that if we can all gather back there, but still have places to try to hide. This card, green on one side, red on the other. So should you need to evacuate, I'm recommending taking this whole red folder and your attendance sheet, count heads, get out by the route that's in your classroom. This, as we do the pastors and the session and whoever else is doing a sweep of our gathering places, this tells me or whoever that I have everybody I need in my, that I'm I have everybody I'm supposed to have in my classroom and I'm good, relatively. This means I'm missing something or something is terribly wrong, come see me, okay? So flash us a green if you're good, red if we need to come see you because something's really wrong, you're missing a kiddo, whatever. So should we need to evacuate, grab this on your way out the door. It'll be right by your door. Intercom. That's one thing I would like to do with, not tonight, but I'm going to test our intercoms. We have an intercom system in Heckert, not the rest of the building. But so from any phone, you can dial a number to make an announcement to the bottom floor, to a different number for the top floor, and then a different number for all of Heckert, right? So if you're in your classroom and one of us gets word that there's an intruder, we're going to try to get on the intercom if we can get to a phone and say code yellow. Code yellow means intruder. Code red means fire. Right? So that's your cue to get out. To get out. Take your folder, gather your kids, get out. I did say that, but take a look at the intruder procedures too. We didn't make those up. They come from actually two sources that are the same. Well, I won't get, but it's what the schools use. I don't even like to think about it, but please review them. Please review them. I think we're as safe as any church is, but you do know if you come here during the week, the doors are locked and you have to ring to get in. On Sunday mornings, they're all open until a certain time, and then Joe locks them. But anybody could walk in with us. So please review those and know where you're going and what you're doing. Okay, I really don't.
So Jill, about the hammers and the blankets.
Oh yes, thank
You
you.
want to mention that?
I should have brought them. In every classroom, at the windows, there is a hammer. You probably have seen them for cars, for breaking windshields, if you should end up in the water or whatever, driving into the water, there's a hammer that you can break your windows in the car. We have those kind of hammers for every classroom to break the window should you need to escape that way. Now, first floor, easy. I mean, relatively easy. Second floor, we're still working with the leadership about those windows. Because once you break it, there's no ladder, right? And well, if you remember what the windows look like, they're like 3 or 4 panes, but each pane is very narrow and won't fit most escape ladders and won't fit most adults through them.
And some of the bigger kids.
And some of the bigger kids. Right. So unless we turn everybody sideways and like push them out.
Land in the mulch, it'll be okay.
Land in the mulch, right? So yeah, we're having those conversations, but at the moment there's a hammer for the windows and the blankets are there because then you'll have broken glass. So in order to get out, the blankets are to cover the broken glass. And the blankets are red for probably obvious reasons. If there's blood, kids will be scared. So if you don't see the blood as well, so that's why the blankets are red. But they're hanging they're either sitting in the windowsill or in the younger kids' class where they want to pull them down and play with them. They're hanging by the window. So that's what they are for. Uplifting, isn't it? It disturbs me that we have to talk about it, but we do. Okay, so looking back, what revelations, epiphanies, wonderings? Well, we talked about those questions at the beginning, and I can go back if you haven't been doodling or drawing. Turn to a partner, either somebody next to you or a small group next to you, whatever works. And then maybe we'll have you guys share with the group if you want to after they partner up. Any insights on your gifts for ministry, maybe gifts others have for ministry, encouragements, wonderings. What would you like to share with one another? So pair up, small group up, whatever works with the numbers.